All right, guys, I'm going to try and get you through the rest of these minor gods real quick before we get to a stopping point here in the notes. So, the nine muses are someone you need to know about. I'm not going to make you remember all of these names, but the nine muses were basically the inspirations for all literature in Greek thought. Okay, so if you were to write down a history, you would sit down and say, "Oh, Cleo, give me the words," and this muse would show up, tell you what to write down, and you would record it and take credit for it. If you want to write a love song to the gods, okay, you would say, "Oh, Polyhymnia, sing me the song," and Polyhymnia would show up and say, "Here's what to write," and you would write it down. Okay, and so it's divine plagiarism, but that's what would happen. So they inspire literally all literature, and they are the special domain of Apollo, who always hangs out with them. And in this picture, for whatever reason, he also looks exactly like them. The only difference is that he has a bow and arrow on his shoulder. The three graces are very similar to the muses in that they also inspire literature, but not in the same way. In this way, the graces are just so incredibly beautiful that when you look at them, you can't help but be inspired. So it's almost like you see this beautiful waterfall, you're inspired by that, and so you write about it. That's how the graces worked. And so originally they were just nature goddesses, but they were so lovely that they end up being associated with the underworld. Where we've talked about the underworld is just this general place that you go. It's not good or bad, but there are better parts of the underworld called the Elysian Fields or Elysian Mysteries. And what makes the pretty part of the underworld pretty is that the graces are there. And so if you are exceptionally good during your life, you go to the underworld, you get to hang out with the graces. Okay. It's hard to find good pictures of them where they're like appropriately clad. So I found this picture where they are wearing appropriate clothing, but to me, they don't actually look like the descriptions and the stories of these young, beautiful women. Instead, to me, they look like the Three Stooges, which is basically the same thing because they are also beautiful goddesses. The three Erinyes are the flip side of that. They're the Furies. They are also beautiful women, but they are women of vengeance. Okay. And so as soon as they're born, you understand that they're going to have like some bad attitudes because they are literally born from the murdered blood of their father. Okay. So they are actually the children of Gaia and Uranus that happened when Uranus was killed. So this is a mythology thing. So you just got to understand it. So when Cronus chops up Uranus, blood from Uranus, which I know sounds really wrong, falls onto Gaia. And from that blood on Gaia, these three women appear. Okay. They're very, very beautiful and very, very upset. Now, they're not evil, but they're what makes the darker side or Tartarus in the underworld so dangerous because you go there and because you've been exceptionally wicked and they will torment you. Okay. So they don't just torment anybody, they torment people who have been especially bad. And you can see this like they're taking snakes to this dude's armpit. That is intense punishment. Okay. And then like down here, like this lady doesn't even have an arm and she's still punching that dude in the face. Okay. So you do not mess with the Furies. Okay. Next one here, you have the Fates. This is a good one to understand because the Fates control the destinies of mankind, and arguably in some of the stories, they also seem to control the destinies of the gods as well. So some stories might make it seem like they're the children of Zeus, but a lot of times they seem more powerful than Zeus. So those are not as likely original there. They're portrayed as these three old, ugly ladies who are just but not merciful. Okay, so they're not going to show you mercy, but they're going to do what needs to be done. Um, I say that because I want to make sure we understand there are pictures of these fates in modern film all the time, but they portray them the wrong way. In the movies, they always have like one eye and one set of teeth that they share amongst themselves. That's another set of minor gods called the gray ones. It's not the fates. The fates have all their eyes and all their teeth. They're just three old ladies who control stuff. So the way it works, you have like Clotho, who is the spinner. So she like creates the thread of life. Lachis, who then measures it, decides how long you're going to live, and then Atropos, who is called the inevitable. She's also like the littlest one, which I always point out, but she has the scissors. Okay, so she's going to end your life when it's time for you to go. But again, they just look like three old ladies who are in charge of stuff. Okay. Then the Gorgons, and we're getting pretty close here. There are three of them, but there's only really one that gets any attention, and that is Medusa. Okay, and if you know what a Gorgon is, she's a monster that has snake hair, sometimes a snake body, sometimes wings. And if you look at her directly in the eyes, you are turned to stone. Okay, so looks like my timer just told me that I'm almost out of time. So I actually will pick up with her next time, and then we will wrap up the minor gods here. So you guys have a wonderful day, make wise decisions, and Merry Christmas.